So the next chapter is reproduction. So we have seen different life processes in previous class, just like photosynthesis, digestion process, respiration, coordination, etc. Different life processes which occur in our body. Similar to the life process, reproduction is one of the life process where it helps a living organism to continue its race by producing offspring of its own. The definition of reproduction is perpetuation of a living organism's race to reproduce. The ability of an organism to reproduce young ones is also known as reproduction. The ability of a living organism to reproduce young ones of its own race means human beings will give rise to human beings, cats will give rise to cats, monkeys are going to give rise to monkeys, so as to continue their future generation. This process that helps in continuation of race means perpetuation of race or continuation of race of a living organism, which is known as reproduction. A living organism is going to reproduce or it is going to give birth to young ones of its own race. A plant, neem plant is going to give rise to a neem plant. A tamarind plant is going to give rise to tamarind plant. A monkey is going to give rise to kids of its monkey. A dog is going to give rise to kids of its own species. So this type of continuation of its own race is termed as reproduction. Now let us see, there are different types of definitions that you have to know before entering into this reproduction. This reproduction is of two types, sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. Before going to read about sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction, let us see what are these terminology which will be used, which will be coming across in reproduction. Fertilization. Fusion of male and female gametes is known as fertilization. Fusion of male and female gametes is known as fertilization. And this type of fertilization is of two types, internal fertilization and external fertilization. If fusion of male and female gametes occur inside the body of a female reproductive system, then it is known as internal reproduction, internal fertilization. If fusion of male and female gametes occurred outside the body of a living organism, then it is known as external fertilization. Internal fertilization examples are most of the mammals, monkeys, dogs, human beings, etc. External fertilization, we can take fish, amphibian like frog. So these are the animals which will go for external fertilization. Okay, fertilization means fusion of male and female gametes. Fusion of male and female gametes is known as fertilization. If the fertilization process takes place, if the fusion of male and female gametes takes place inside the body of female living organism, then it is known as internal fertilization. If the fusion of male and female gametes takes place outside the body of both the organisms, then it is in the surroundings, then it is known as external fertilization. After fusion of male and female gametes, the fertilized ovum is known as zygote. Definition of zygote is fertilized ovum is known as zygote. Now we have to come across these words terminology because no one is going to teach you in classes. Sexual dimorphism. Sexual dimorphism means both males and females are separate. They are having their own reproductive organs and they can be distinguished by seeing the externally by seeing the secondary sexual characters which develop differently in males and females. That phenomenon is known as sexual dimorphism. The phenomenon where males and females are easily distinguished between each other, that phenomenon is known as sexual dimorphism, and the characters which allows us to distinguish between male and female is known as secondary sexual characters. Example, frogs. Male frogs will produce croaking sound, whereas females will not produce any sound. If a frog produces a sound, croaking sound, during the rainy season, then that frog will be a male. If a frog doesn't produce any sound, then it is known as female. Okay. These secondary sexual characters in human beings we can distinguish, they like beard, mustache, etc. Okay. and growth of characteristic hair, high pitched male voice, etc. are secondary sexual characters for males. And in females, low pitched female voice, long hair, etc. will be considered as secondary sexual characters, where we can distinguish between males and females separately. Okay, if both male and female sex organs are present in a single living organism, then that animal is known as hermaphrodite, and that phenomenon is known as hermaphroditism. Example is earthworm. Earthworm consists of both male sex organs and female sex organs in the single living organism, but avoids self-fertilization. Self-fertilization will not take place in earthworm because ovaries mature much earlier than the testes. That is, female reproductive organs mature much earlier than the male reproductive organs. So that is the reason why self-fertilization will not take place even though both sex organs are present in the same animal. That is earthworm. Male reproductive organs are present, female reproductive organs are present. Okay, they will produce ova as well as sperms, but self-fertilization will not take place because female reproductive organs mature much earlier than the male reproductive organs. This is the phenomenon where both male sex organs and female sex organs are present in the same living organism. Unisexual means if only one sex organ is present and they are separated, distinguished. For example, you can take trees, neem tree. For example, only one type of sex organs are present, either male or female. Okay. For example, you can take palm tree. Palm tree is the best example where only one type of either males are present or females are present. Bisexual means both sex organs and they can be distinguished separately. This is a special type of phenomenon, empism, where secondary sexual characters will not develop in a person. We know that secondary sexual characters, with the help of secondary sexual characters, we can distinguish between males and females. If secondary sexual characters are not developed in a person's body, where we cannot distinguish whether that person is male or female, that condition is empism. Empism is a condition where secondary sexual characters will not develop and we cannot distinguish whether that person is male or female. Here, so these are the terminology which you have to need to know before studying this one. And this reproduction is of two types: sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. Let us distinguish let us see what are the differences between this sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. If in sexual reproduction, sex organs will be present in both the living organisms, whereas here sex organs will be absent. If a reproduction is of sexual reproduction, then sex organs are present. Whereas if the reproduction is asexual reproduction, then sex organs are absent. Sexual reproduction takes place either in a single parent or in two parents. It involves single or two parents, whereas it involves only one parent. Sexual reproduction involves a single parent. For example, if you take a plant, self-pollination and fruit will be formed. Self-pollination means transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma of the same flower of the same plant and of the same species is known as self-pollination. And in that you are going to see only single parent is going to be involved. So we can take single parent or two parents in higher animals, vertebrates. Whereas asexual reproduction takes place only in a single parent, only one parent will be involved. Gametes will be formed here, male gametes and female gametes. Gametes will be formed here, and here gametes will not be formed. No gametes are seen. No gametes are seen in asexual type of reproduction. If there are gametes are present, then fusion of gametes will take place. Since gametes are not present, no fusion of gametes takes place. And after that one, zygote will be formed, and that is fertilization process will take place. And here, no fertilization process will take place. So these are the different types of differences between sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. Okay. Fusion of gametes will take place. Since gametes are produced, fusion will take place. Since gametes are not produced, no fusion will take place. Fertilization will be taking place either it is internal or external. When there is no fertilization, no fertilization will take place and no zygote will be formed. Here zygote will be formed and here no zygote will be formed. Since no fertilization, no zygote. Since fertilization takes place, zygote will be formed. Okay. Here we will be having mitotic divisions before fertilization and as well as meiotic divisions will also take place. Mitotic and meiotic divisions will take place. Cell divisions. Here only mitotic divisions will take place. Before reproduction, for the formation of a gamete to form, it requires meiotic division, and after fusion, it requires mitotic divisions. Here we require only mitotic divisions. Here a parent undergoes mitotic divisions only. No meiotic divisions will be seen. So these are the different types of differences between sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. And here this will be seen in higher vertebrates and low, some of the higher invertebrates and all the vertebrates. Higher invertebrates. This sexual reproduction is seen in higher invertebrates and all the vertebrate animals. Vertebrate means those animals which are having backbone. Vertebral column are called as vertebrates. So sexual reproduction happens in all the higher invertebrates and as well as in the all the vertebrates. Here it involves in the lower organisms just like primitive cells like fungi, algae, bacteria, etc. etc. Unicellular animals mostly unicellular animals and some of the amphibians. Some of the amphibians. Not amphibians. Only in the lower primitive organisms. Only in the unicellular organisms this asexual reproduction is going to take place. So these are the differences between sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. Now we are going to conduct an experiment, and this experiment you can do in your house to demonstrate the growth of bacteria, which we can consider it as asexual reproduction. Example for asexual reproduction, where you take 2 bowls and pour lukewarm milk into first bowl and cold milk into second bowl. Lukewarm means heat the milk up to 100 degrees and try to allow it to cool for 60 degrees. That means bring down the temperature of the milk to 60 degrees back. That milk is considered to be lukewarm milk. Okay. Now cold milk, which is not at all heated. You take a spoonful full of overnight curd and add it to both of them. A single spoon of curd into first bowl, which is consisting of lukewarm milk, and a spoonful of curd which will be placed into cold milk. Now observe from time to time. The next day you open the lid of both the bowls, and you can see that the lukewarm milk which is being sent with some amount of curd, total amount of milk will be converted into curd, whereas the other one will not be able to convert itself into, the milk will not be converted into curd. Only some portion, light little portion will be converted. The reason is simple. By bacteria which is present in the curd has grown in multiple members during the favorable conditions. Here, lukewarm milk, that is 60 degrees or 50 degrees, whatever it may be the temperature, is favorable for the growth of bacteria, whereas the cold milk is not at all favorable for the growth of bacteria. You can also take another third one, which is of boiling milk. That is also unfavorable. That means for asexual reproduction to take place, it requires favorable conditions. The temperature should be allowed, the amount of the surrounding should be favorable, etc., etc. That means asexual reproduction depends on the conditions. If they are favorable, then the asexual reproduction will take place at a faster rate, and if it is the favorable conditions are not present, then asexual reproduction takes place at a lower rate. May take place or may not take place. If it takes place, but it takes place in a lower rate. Okay, there are different types of examples for demonstrating asexual reproduction. Fusion. FISSION. Multiplying the bacteria or any single celled animals. One organism is going to give rise to two are going to give rise to four, likewise multiple in number. Then that type of division of single cell becoming into two without the involvement of gametes, without the formation of gametes, without fertilization process, that is known as fusion, and it is an example for asexual reproduction, which we can see in paramecium, bacteria, etc., etc. A single bacteria, in the previous example, you have taken some bacteria into milk. That bacteria has been occupied by the entire milk which is present in that bowl. So we can tell that fusion is binary fusion is the best example for asexual reproduction, and it also takes place in paramecium, etc. And in paramecium, we have another process known as conjugation. By repeated number of binary fusions, it is going to be about to degenerate. During that time, both the two parameciums are going to come together, and they are going to exchange the cellular material, that is nuclear material will be exchanged, and that process is known as conjugation process. So as to overcome the energy which is lost during binary fusions. During binary fusion, one paramecium is going to give rise to two will be giving rise to four gives rise to 8. Likewise, after repeated number of binary fusions, some of the generations, in future generations, the material which is present in the first one has been distributed equally to 2 has been distributed to 4, but there is no change in no new material is added during this process. And after repeated number of binary fusions, it is going to last. That means it is going to be nearing its death. So as to overcome that one, then it goes a process known as conjugation, which is considered to be a sexual reproduction, where the nuclear material will undergo mitotic divisions and meiotic divisions. They will be exchanged between them, and fusion of this nuclear material will take place, and after conjugation process, it rejuvenates itself. That means it is going to form as a newly developed paramecium, and its strength will be more when compared to the previous parameciums. Fusion is one of the examples. Budding process is another example. Budding process means it will be seen mostly in yeast cells. Yeast cells, most of them will be maybe circular or spherical shape. A bud will be formed, a soft corner bud will be formed over its cellular membrane, and into this bud some amount of nucleus material will be pushed, and as this bud, a constriction will be appearing over this cell membrane, and as the bud is growing in size, it will be getting detached from the parent yeast cell. This type of process of forming of buds in the yeast cells is known as budding process. You can see this type of process occurring in your baked items. Adding of yeast cells so that it will be bulging in bread. They will be increasing its size. Budding process is an example for asexual reproduction. And fragmentation process. Fragmentation process is another example where algae, fungi, etc. If you have seen some of the amount of algae, some material in your bathrooms or wherever the more amount of water is stagnant, some green colored portion. So if you are going to separate that one, if you are going to detach that one with the help of your feet or some material, then the detached fragment will be leading an independent life. They are not going to be depending on that colony no more. And that type of separation is known as fragmentation process. Fragment means small portion. The small portion is going to be detached from the parent. Then the small portion can lead an independent life, where involvement of gametes is not there, no fusion of gametes, etc., etc. And one more important process is known as parthenocarpy. Parthenogenesis. Parthenogenesis is a type of asexual reproduction where single animal, or a new generation will be formed from the gametes. Gametes will be present, but they are not going to be fertilized. They are not going to be fused. The process where an animal or a new generation will be formed from the gametes itself is known as parthenogenesis. Where I can tell you example as male gametes will undergo several mitotic divisions, and from where a new male animal will be produced. And female gametes, namely ovum, that is, these will be taken place in ants, wasps, bees, etc., where unfertilized ovum will develop into males and fertilized ovum will develop into females. Unicellular, that means male gametes will, without the fertilization of fusion of male and female gametes will give rise to male animals, female gametes will give rise to female animals. Without fusion, that process is known as, that phenomenon is known as parthenogenesis, and this can be seen in most of the lower animals just like ants, bees, wasps, etc., where fertilized ovum will develop into females and male gametes, that is unfertilized ovum will develop into males. The animals are going to develop from a single gamete. The animals are going to develop from the single gamete, and this parthenocarpy is a special type of reproduction where seedless fruits will be developed. I think you might have seen banana in your daily life. Banana is the production of a fruit. Banana is a fruit. It is the production of unfertilized ovary. The entire ovary that is present inside the banana will be converted into fruit without the fusion of male and female gametes. Without the fusion of male and female gametes, the ovary of banana will be converted into a fruit. This type of development of ovary into fruit without the fusion of male and female gametes is known as parthenocarpy, where seedless fruits will be developed. Mostly seedless fruit. Have you seen a seed inside a banana? No. So parthenocarpy helps us to develop seedless fruit, and this technique is this technique has developed in development of several seedless fruits like grapes, watermelon, etc. This has been introduced by hybridization techniques into grapes as well as watermelon. Development of seedless fruit. No, nowadays we have developed hybrid. So these are the examples for different types of asexual reproduction. Fusion, binary fusion, where single organism will be given rise to 2 will be given rise to 4. Example is curd, bacterial curd entering into a milk. Paramecium will go conjugation process, which is considered as sexual reproduction. Because of repeated number of binary fusions, it will be losing its firmness and stiffness. And budding will be seen in yeast cells where bud will be growing over the yeast cell, and it will be, when it is being detached from the parent cell, it will be developing into a new individual yeast cell. Fragmentation process, small fragment will be, if it is detached from the parent plant, then it is going to be developing into a new individual plant. It will be seen mostly in algae, fungi, etc. Parthenogenesis is a technique where it is a process where formation of a new individual from either male gamete or from the female gamete. Either from the male gamete or from the female gamete without the involvement of or without the fusion of male and female gametes. Gametes will be involved, but no fusion of gametes will take place. Examples are ants and bees, where fertilized ovum will take place will give rise to females and unfertilized ovum will give rise to males. Seedless fruits, example banana, where ovary will be developed into a complete fruit banana, where no involvement, no fusion of gametes take place. Ovary is present, but pollination or whatever the process that is required for converting into fruit will not take place in banana. After pollination, it will develop into seed. Seeds will develop into fruit. Just like that, ovary will be converted to pulp, etc., etc. That process will not take place. So, this parthenocarpy is seen in banana, and it is being spread for other plants just like grapes as well as watermelon. So, this type of parthenogenesis